our omnipotent Q.
29.
28 seconds.
27.
26.
25 seconds.
24. 23.
22 seconds.
21 seconds.
20 seconds.
19.
18.
17 seconds.
16.
15 seconds.
14.
13 seconds.
12.
11.
10 seconds. 9.
8.
7.
6.
Copy.
5 seconds.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome, cadets, to Subspace Chatter. This week we'll be analyzing the 5th episode of Star Trek Starfleet Academy series Acclimation Mil. So lower your shields and prepare to engage as we beam up opinions on this episode. And we're going to be going deep like Deep Space Nine. Let's introduce ourselves. I'm going to throw it to Dallas.
Hi, I'm Dallas, lifelong Star Trek fan, former writer of Get Trekkicated, now starting a new venture called Sci-Fi Speculations, and I'm an amateur writer and, overall sci-fi nut.
And Michelle.
Hi, I'm Michelle. Been a Star Trek fan since the late 80s, early 90s, and a huge fan of Deep Space Nine.
Phyllis.
I'm Phyllis, also a huge fan of Star Trek from watching the originals in repeats all the way to the present. I was fortunate enough to write on 2 Star Trek series, Voyager and Enterprise, and I love watching it from the same vantage point as you guys.
And I'm Eve Zellick, and I am a real-life director of a real-life Starfleet Fandom Academy, specifically the director of the College of Music. So I'm going to throw just a general question, get us started. What did we all think of this episode? We'll go around the board. Dallas?
I'd have to say it's going to be hard to match or exceed this particular episode this season. It's first started off as very, I like to call it Lisa Frankish, especially with the aesthetic and the way it introduced. Remind me of Kick-Ass. But then it started to get a little more serious, a little more deep, a little more heartfelt. And, well, isn't that what Star Trek's all about? It's not just wagon train to the stars, it's the human journey. And this one felt very human to me.
What about you, Michelle?
I just loved I thought it was a good character study for the character that focused on Sam, and how she comes across to accept who she is. And as a DS9 fan, I loved the fact that it paid tribute to probably the best Star Trek series ever.
How about you?
I had mixed feelings about it, but it ended up strong. I was not as taken with the beginning and the, who am I? I'm the emissary kind of thing, although I thought that was a clever way in. But I really liked the message. I loved Jake in it. And I am also glad that they paid real respectful tribute to Deep Space Nine in its depth and heart and everything else. So to me, it was a little bit like trying to hook your wagon to that star. So it doesn't really feel like it's hit its stride yet for me. So I'll just disagree with the can they get better?
For myself, this is the first Star Trek that I've had genuinely mixed feelings about. I mean, I've liked most Star Treks right from the get-go, with the exception of the animated series. That one just never grabbed my attention. But this episode completely turned it around for me, because I'm a huge DS9 fan. And the last DS9 tribute type episode we got was the fantastic one in Lower Decks. And that said, you can very much see Tawny Newsome having a very big role in the writing and production of this episode. And Dallas and I actually met her last year in Vulcan. That was an interesting night. It went from 25 degrees and sunshine to golf ball sized hail for about 30 minutes and then sunshine again. It was a really weird night.
I remember her watching that. She was quite amazed.
Yeah, and we were like, this is Alberta. It's normal. But she, I remember at her panel, because she had just come on to the writer's room, like for Star Trek. That was around the time she just got on the writer's room as like a solid thing. And she said flat out Deep Space Nine was the Trek she was the most passionate about, other than obviously Lower Decks. And so you can see her love for Deep Space Nine throughout the whole show. And I really thought this one got down to Star Trek. It was less Star Trek Degrassi and more Star Trek to me. Or if you want to go with the American version, Star Trek 90210. Well, Dallas and I are in Canada. Degrassi was a bigger deal than 90210.
I guess in my part of the world, we should probably say Grange Hill.
Yeah. So I'm going to throw Dan's question out there. So Dan said, does this episode answer the key questions in its premise, and did it need to?
I would say...
I gotta love Dan's oddball, questions that you're like, wait a second.
I would have to say, well, depends on the question. A lot of people are going to have the literal interpretation like I did as what happened to Ben Sisko, which, no, it didn't really answer. But no, it didn't really have to. After all, it wasn't just about the disappearance of Ben Sisko, what happened to him. It was about matters of faith. It was about a personal journey with growth when it came to Sam. It's so when you ask what happened to Ben, that's not the point. The point is what you learn along the way. And for Sam, it was all about what it meant to be an emissary to her people. And in turn, what she had to do in order to be that emissary. And it meant being a little rebellious at the end. Who knows how that's going to affect her later on in the series. Maybe the people of Cask are going to, come knocking and she's going to have a day of reckoning on that. But I look forward to seeing what happens afterwards.
What about you, Michelle? What are your thoughts?
I'm probably with Dallas on a lot of it, in that, the main question is what happened to Ben Sisko. It didn't answer that. It didn't need to. The mystery can remain as far as most people are concerned. Although it was mostly about faith and sort of like the coming of age journey, especially for Sam, and how how this investigation helps her actually accept the fact that she's an emissary for her people, who are absolutely terrified of making contact with organic life forms, even though they want to. So they want to make sure it's safe, and hence why they've sent her.
And I really saw the question as the premise as, who am I and how do I do this? I saw it from Sam's point of view. So for me, the Sisko mystery was, as you said, something that didn't need to be answered or even portrayed. It seemed to be much more about Sisko's life paralleling Sam's, in the sense of not believing, not being fit to be emissary, just kind of going along because that's how he could do his job. And then ultimately learning about both the upside and the destiny of it. And I thought that was a really great parallel for Sam and deepened her by juxtaposition.
For myself, I am totally fine with the mystery of the Cisco remaining a mystery because I know Deep Space Nine took a lot of risks bringing religion into science fiction the way it did, because that was part of the biggest thing that made it controversial. Because typically in science fiction, religion is done away with unless it's alien religions, because humans have apparently moved past that. But as a person who has been both religious and not religious at times in my life, I like the idea of him remaining a mystery because it's a matter of faith. And if faith is something that is hard for us to grapple with, no matter what we believe, if faith is something that is difficult for organics to grapple with, because we can't just, for us, we're not algorithm based, how much harder is the idea of faith for somebody who is non-organic, who's a photonic or an android or somebody who is programmed? I like that idea, because that would be the ultimate challenge, something you can't quantify, because Sam was sent to quantify humans, quantify other species, and she's finding that there's things you just can't quantify at the end of the day. So I'm actually happy with it not being answered. I would have been disappointed if it was.
Yeah, I think my first instinct, if I was going to write a story like that, would be try to answer or quantify that. And that's where I was thinking, that's where I hit my wall. That's where I hit my limit. That's where I have a lot to learn. So I came out of this, learning a thing or two. It's amazing.
So I'm going to throw out the next question here, which is along the same lines. We'll keep with that. The orb. Why did the orb not activate, but instead it went dark and dead? Why do we think that happened? Because I thought that was very interesting, because in the past we've had orbs where they just glow and shine and don't do anything, but they glow and shine. I think maybe I could be wrong, but I think there was maybe one DS9 episode where an orb went dark, but I can't recall for sure. So what do we think about that? Like, what did that say, her encountering it and it going dark like that?
I take it two ways. One, it was a little bit of he is speaking to her, it just not in the way she wants to hear it. And the other as a metaphor for her letting go of this mission to solve the mystery and moving beyond it. That's what the prophets would have wanted for her.
I'll just go a wee bit practical here and just say that what we saw was a holographic representation of a museum elsewhere. Therefore, the orb is not real. It's a holographic representation of the orb. So hence, that's one reason it could have gone dark.
Although we know the prophets, stuff like holographic technology. Stuff
The episode I think you're thinking about where the orb does go dark, Cheers to the Prophets.
Mm-hmm.
When
because we know that.
I don't know if have you seen all the whole of season 6? Yeah. So when Ducat kills Jadzia.
I knew there was an episode. I just couldn't recall which one. But
season 7, so I'll be going over this after this, I think.
I'm going to go more practical like you, Michelle, because we know that holographic representations, everything, that does not affect the prophets if they want to speak. We know that they can override stuff like that. That those limitations don't exist. I'm kind of going with the idea. I like Phyllis's idea. I never even thought of it. So that was an amazing insight there, Phyllis. But for me, I'm going to go a little practical and say maybe it's also because she's not organic. And we know the orbs do have an organic component to an extent. So maybe it was reacting because she's not an organic. Because there was a lot of that in this episode, like an organic versus not organic.
I keep going back to something that Dax said, that it's not necessarily that the prophets are going to answer back, or was it Jake that was saying it? That they're always there, kind of always listening. It's a matter of faith whether or not you believe that they hear you. And I think if Sam was talking to the orb and actually connecting to the prophets, the celestial temple, to the Cisco, that they didn't necessarily have to answer back. But it is possible that they were listening. Ain't that
Okay.
like prayer?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, the whole episode is about believing in things that are not tangible, or being able to understand the ununderstandable. So along those lines, we see where she joins or attends the Bajoran Club, and she gets the ear grab, and your paw is strong. Obviously, it's known that throughout the academy that she is holographic. So is paw something that can only be felt in organics, or could a holographic being actually have a paw? Because I always got the sense in Deep Space Nine, your paw was your spirit.
Mhm.
Hence the paw race. They destroy your spirit or your soul. So is this saying that she has, in a sense, a soul?
Wow, metaphysical.
That's Star Trek.
I think she has a soul. I think she's discovering it as she goes, and I think that the heart of the episode could be construed as the soul of the episode, and finding with it's a little bit early, but it's a little like a Data or a Doctor or another character that's not human, or kind of having that possibility in them and having it come forward.
Being more than the sum of the parts.
Yes, and being more like us than we originally think, or not in the box we put them in.
What do you think, Michelle?
Mhm.
You look pensive.
Going trying to process all the metaphysical stuff.
This was not an easy episode. This is the one of the episodes that
No,
throws punches.
when you're dealing with the Cisco, it never is, especially in the Bajoran face.
That's why I think this episode stands out. It isn't easy.
No,
It's got some depth.
And well, personally, I'm actually looking forward to seeing how this helps develop Sam.
I
as
think
a
she's
character.
adorable so far.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing some Bajorans a little more. I was wondering where they were.
Yeah, we saw some in that episode at the club, but I think we could do with seeing a few more. Yeah.
Yeah, especially since Ake lived there for during her self-imposed exile.
And when we were discussing that episode, I didn't say where are the Bajorans because we didn't see any. And then we see quite a lot at the academy.
I have to admit, I like the way they had Sam presenting the story of the Cisco to the others, because they didn't do it as she was serious and scholarly. They did it as literally going with the idea she's born yesterday, and this is something that is centuries later, where she's like the evil bad guys, the paw race, and
she's reading the children's book.
She's putting in, but she's reading the children's book, but she's doing it seriously, not like we would do. She's doing it seriously. I like that part because that fit her really, really well, I think, because she's young. She's in some ways she's younger than the rest.
Yeah, naive is with it, and a bit naive with it as well.
That's the
word. Just probably part of her charm.
So I had a concern seeing her interactions with her creators. We know they're expecting a lot of her. They've
Mhm.
threatened to pull her from the academy if she doesn't deliver. And at the end there, we saw her basically almost flip them the middle finger, essentially, and walk out.
Yeah.
Is her life possibly in danger as well if she doesn't fulfill her purpose? Because I got some serious malevolent vibes, but I don't know if anyone else did.
I got threat, but not to her existence, but to her existence at Starfleet Academy. That she would, and also maybe Eve, maybe you're right in the sense that if she goes back, she loses her form and she becomes like the lights that these beings really are. And that would be a kind of death, losing her body.
Yeah, because I get this, because they make it clear she was created for a purpose and she better fulfill it. That's where I got the malevolence from.
Yeah, well, I think they also even said, if you can't do what we've sent you to do, we're going to take you back. So it was definitely out there. I keep wondering, there's one disconnect I have in the Sam photonic story, which is, and they sort of hinted at it with the doctor being disappointed in her. It's like that entire race does have other photonics to look to, even though they were enslaved too. But why is the doctor so removed from this attempt to get the photonics into the Federation, or whatever the end goal is for this group?
That was a concern I had in the first episode where Sam tried to be friendly with the doctor and he basically shut her down. And I'm like, okay, you've always been kind of rude, but this is a whole new level for somebody who was a crusader for photonic rights.
Rights, exactly.
So
I think you have an idea.
What do you think?
I'm thinking divergent cultures. I mean, Doctor was one of the first, but, from humans, I mean, we've seen that photonics have been developed from other species as well. The cask, they might be a whole different animal from what the Doctor originated from, and a whole different attitude to go with it.
Could they be connected to the photonic race in Voyager, maybe?
Possible.
It's enough centuries ahead. They may have come out of the Delta Quadrant and into the Alpha Quadrant. I literally just thought of that. I was like, wait, there was that photonic race in Voyager. Could it maybe be the two came together and that's why there's,
There might be similar species, but divergent cultural developments. That's what I'm thinking.
I saw a parallel in the Kaskian sphere of organic life forms with that of the changelings and the founders of the Dominion and their future solids. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So then would the doctor be like an analog to, say, Odo then? Because Odo had a different attitude towards solids than the other changelings, because Odo spent his whole life around the solids. I mean, Odo fell in love with the solid. So could that be like, the parallel, like that the doctor is more like Odo, where he's not totally his own, he's not totally us, he's something in the middle, and that's his conflict?
I like that.
I also got to keep in mind, he's really old. Like, really old.
Yeah.
A lot's happened in those centuries. Especially when it comes to loss, which always seems to crop up with the doctor. They're hinting that he's lost a lot of people that are near and dear to him, and it's affected him deeply. So that's probably made him more sour than usual.
I noticed some comments online saying things, like how he basically told her, "We lose people, we deal with it, we move on." Like, I
Right.
have to wonder if he's specifically referring to the Voyager crew, and also maybe in particular Captain Seven, because Captain Seven would be passed on by now, and she was his closest friend.
Yes. Well, it definitely, it almost seemed to me, which I can't imagine how it would work, but it was like somebody who had lost children, not necessarily just close friends or people you feel like family, but something that's so bitter to accept. Not that I know how he would have kids, but
He had a holographic family at one point.
yeah,
He has
there
a
you
family
go.
in that accelerated world in the Delta Quadrant.
Yeah, true. Maybe he
But
did find a way to have
that's
a family.
yeah, that's sort of how it felt to me. It was like even greater than, like, the Lanthanites also watch people die around them their whole lives. And it certainly doesn't affect them that way.
True, but Lanthanites would be born and raised knowing that's going to happen. The Doctor, we know, was never meant to become what the Doctor's become.
Yes.
To me, it's kind of like, it almost seems the same as Sam was created knowing this is her purpose, this is her fate, she doesn't have a choice. Whereas Cisco, he had to grow into what was to be his fate because he wasn't born knowing. And so he had a harder time coming to terms, like we saw him have a hard time coming to terms with it in parts.
Yeah.
One minute he's like, fine, I'll use your religious stuff because it helps my mission from Starfleet. And it's only later on we start seeing him go like, wait, Starfleet, there's stuff here you don't understand, but I do.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of think maybe it could be similar to that, maybe.
Huh, good point.
Yes, you've answered the Lanthanite question.
Because, yeah, Lanthanites would be born knowing it. And so for them, it would be a completely, like, if we were born knowing something, we would have the ability to handle it better than discovering it later on, I think.
Yeah, I think that's sound.
I mean, look at the Trill. Essentially, while the hosts pass on, the symbiote, for the most part, seems to be immortal almost. I mean, we've never heard of a symbiote dying of old age. They can die of disease or die of being removed and not having a host, but they seem to be immortal. So, and the symbiotes process, the fact that they lose people they love all the time, and it doesn't seem to affect them because they're born knowing. And they say that the Trills who do get joined have to go through a lot of psychological counseling and stuff to be prepared to take on all those lifetimes. But at the same time, they have a finite lifetime.
I think I heard somewhere that a Trill symbiote has a lifespan of approximately 800 years. I'll have to research further to see where that was from. But by some calculations, this particular Dax symbiote would be closer to about 1,000 to 1,100 years. So there's perhaps some sort of development or lifespan enhancing medical science involved.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Very possible. Medical science, medical science advances over decades, centuries, etc.
Have we seen Trill half-breeds, so to speak? Trill Cardassian in this case, or anything?
No, this is the first.
Trilldassian.
Because, like, the Trills always maintained almost an aristocracy about joining because there was limited symbiotes. And so being a joined Trill was like a particular status.
Right.
And we know some Trills didn't want to be joined, like Ezri never wanted to be joined. She had to be to save the life of the symbiote, and it kind of made him upended her world. But yeah, we've never had
Yeah.
hybrids, but it has been implied. Dallas brought this up
Yeah.
because we were talking about it. Dallas brought up the fact that it has also been implied that the at least biological requirements to take a symbiote aren't quite as stringent as the Trill have made it seem.
Well,
Yes,
Discovery had the human
Yeah.
bingo.
carrier.
Yeah.
Mhm.
In the Next Generation, I think Riker carried one for a while.
True, but he eventually had to reject it.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
something a little more permanent.
Mhm.
The requirements are a bit looser than the Trill species and the Symbiosis Commission led on.
Mhm.
They gatekeep.
That, which is why they covered up Janan,
Yes,
Mm.
the murderer. Yeah.
and also had Jadzia lived, we might have seen their child would have been a Klingon Trill hybrid.
Yeah.
That's
Trill
true.
on.
When I saw that Worf and Jadzia get married, I remember sitting there thinking, scientifically, if she's got a worm in her belly, where the heck does the baby grow? But
Yeah.
the things nerds think about, right? But let's throw a few more lighthearted ones out there before we close out. But so the fish, whatever kind of fish that was, it looked to me like it was Tom Paris's child, but that weird fish. Do you think that Nala made it so it would deflate as a practical joke, or did it just kind of happen? And like, what do we think about that fish? Because that's an example of our uptight kind of commander there.
Yeah. I definitely thought it was a joke.
I mean, it sounded like a whoopee cushion, which was funny, but
Yeah.
what do you think, Michelle?
To be honest, a lot of the stuff at the B story actually went past me. But yeah, probably thinking back to it, that could well have been a joke. What's the Doctor doing at a meal? He doesn't usually eat, does he?
He's got to eat at some point. He is organic. What do you think, Dallas?
I'm thinking it was just one of those great or poor timing kind of instances, and they just had to laugh. But our poor Chancellor of the War College, he's, how uptight and how serious he takes things. And that really shows a lot about his character. He is very serious about his duties, dedicated, honorable. But, the way that Captain Aki acts flies in the face of what he would consider proper. And it sort of got to him.
And acceptable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For me,
I kind of like online discourse about Captain Aki in general.
For me, I think the fish it was a case of the fish may or may not have been naturally the type to deflate, because the doctor even said it happens, even like the doctor didn't seem surprised by it, like, oh, it happens. So I'm thinking that there's always the probability with that kind of fish that sometimes it does that, sometimes it doesn't. And it just kind of happened at the, at the right moment to just kind of and dispel all the tension. Cause I mean, there was a lot of tension around that room, and I
kind of thought that the doctor and Reno were in on it. That's why I thought he said, it just happens. It was sort of going along with Ake's practical joke. In fact, it made me question whether any of this was, part of their I forgot the name of the species, their traditions.
The doctor's not known for jokes, though. Like, the doctor doesn't really have.
No, just going along with with Nala, in this, going along with his captain's, so to speak, mission. It was just how I held it. But honestly, that whole, and I probably will find dissent with this, but that whole subplot didn't fit with the rest of the episode for me. I know it's something about accepting more than just a one-sided view of people and things like that. It had an important lesson, but I just kept feeling pulled away, like we needed an adult story and we got this.
Yeah.
And
A fish-shaped
So
whoopee cushion.
exactly. So I kind of thought that was an odd pairing, sort of weird wine and main course pairing.
I'll tell you right now, as the resident musician, that flute scene was pure torture. Even a first-year player does not sound like that. That was like, I was sitting there and I'm like, oh, please make it end. Because they did dub actual flute over whatever that thing was he was holding.
God, even as a person who has no clue how flute should really sound like, that was torture. But hey, A for effort. He tried. I mean, the guy might be uptight, but he puts in the effort and he genuinely tries. So I got to respect the guy for that. What turned out to be a jerk of a character in the first couple episodes is starting to grow on me a little bit.
In a sense, the whole thing between him and Nala reminds me a little bit of Tuvok and Neelix. Because Neelix is so casual, so he just rolls with the punches. He takes it as it comes, and Tuvok is so uptight. And there's that one Voyager episode where Tuvok is supposed to be trying to he's trying to train those Maquis, and he's approaching it exactly as a Starfleet drill sergeant, essentially. And Neelix is the one to explain to him, which Neelix does at many points in the series, that, there's more than one way to do things. You don't always have to be uptight. So I almost find like the Nala and Kelrick to be almost like Neelix and Tuvok in a way. You've got one person with this huge, broad experience, because we know Neelix had a much broader experience than Tuvok, because Neelix had been all over the Delta Quadrant. And then you got Tuvok, who's got a very narrow experience. Kelrick has this very narrow mindset and experience, but Nala's had multiple lifetimes like a Dax. And
yes.
So I to me, that's what it feels like between those two.
And I did like how they contrasted, their points of view. In the case of our Chancellor of the War College, he saw Nala, her exit from Starfleet, as sort of a betrayal of his own principles. But he didn't have the full context, so he kind of filled in the blanks and made wrong assumptions.
Like Cisco and Eddington?
But, it was totally on point for his character. He was seeing it from his own point of view. But maybe now he's going to start to expand and try to see things through other people's points of view. At least he's starting to develop that. Embryonic, as to speak.
So at what point did you guys figure out who Tawny's character was, that she was a Dax? Did you figure out before the reveal?
I was at the reveal, yeah, because when she showed off the trill spots. But I didn't even think she was only half trill at that point, because I thought maybe they've gone back to the makeup of the original trill from Next Generation.
Oh yeah, they had that weird makeup.
It was sort of mentioned to me. When I had a look online at some of the photographs, that I saw the hint of the Cardassian neck ridges just at the edge.
I didn't. I don't remember if I got spoiled on that, but I'm pretty sure I didn't. So I didn't know. I didn't even recognize Tawny Newsome in that makeup.
No.
It was like,
phenomenal makeup.
That's where she is.
Yeah.
I recognized her based on her voice, but like I say, Dallas and I had the privilege of actually meeting her and getting to talk to her. And by the way, in real life, she's quite tall. I mean, Dallas and I are just short of 6 foot, and she's about that. So
wow,
she's actually, and she's
not including the poofy hair.
Yeah, although she didn't have her hair really poofy when we met her, but
a bit.
but yeah, if you ever get the chance to meet her, she is so much fun to meet and talk to, and her insights into Star Trek and especially comedy is like she's hilarious. Like it was amazing having met somebody like her. And I remember we were really excited to find out, like, yeah, she's going to be helping write Star Trek going forward. Like that's a big mantle to take on.
Yeah.
But for me, the giveaway was when she said the name Benjamin, because there was only one person in all of DS9 that called Cisco Benjamin.
Yep, Dax.
And that was Dax. And to me, I'm like, wait a second. And
Oh, that's cool.
knowing Tawny's, passion for DS9, and that DS9 she said was her favorite one growing up with, and how much she loved DS9. To me, it makes perfect sense. She would be a Dax to kind of bring that little bit of DS9 into the 32nd century, and that as a Dax, she'd be mentoring another emissary, just like Curzon mentored Cisco. Like,
yeah.
But as soon as she said Benjamin, when she said Benjamin asked me to, or when she mentioned Benjamin and she took the book back, I was like, wait a second. There's only one person who calls him Benjamin.
Yeah.
To me, it was the big reveal of the book. It's funny. At first, we thought Tawny Newsom's guest star role was when we saw the music teacher, but the lighting was poor. We can never really get a good look at her face. But then when you saw, Dax come in, it was, oh yeah, that's her. But even though there were hints all throughout her appearances that this was Dax, by the way she spoke, the way she presented herself, I think it was really, sledgehammer to the forehead kind of moment when she revealed Anselm, the book. Then why else would she have this? It's not, especially if there's only one of its kind out there, and it's passed along to those who are worthy, so to speak. Now, it had to be someone close to Benjamin or Jake, and bingo, Dax.
I think she did an amazing Dax, to be honest. She had like that bearing and everything. Like she didn't copy Jadzia Dax, because that's the Dax we're most familiar with. She didn't copy Jadzia Dax, but she had some mannerisms and made it her own Dax, which, I mean, when you're taking on a role like that, that's passed down, essentially, that's got to be like, that's not got to be easy as an actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I have faith in her because, she's Second City alumni, and that, Second City, SCTV.
Yeah.
Legendary actors and comedians like Bill Murray, Eugene Levy, even lesser knowns like, say, Catherine O'Hara. And they've...
R.I.P. to Catherine O'Hara. She just passed.
Yeah.
And, that Second City has brought more entertainers and comedians into the mainstream media, into Hollywood, than even Saturday Night Live. They're legendary. That's like getting a PhD in comedic studies. And Tawny Newsom was a part of that. And, that's why I had, faith in her to be able to, do this rather weighty assignment.
I just hope we see more of her.
I do too. And honestly,
it'll be interesting to see how you develop Dax going into the 32nd century.
I think so. It would be nice if we see a couple more Lower Decks actors. Like, I'd like to see Jack Quaid.
I'd also be interested to learn more about her lineage, the family history side of things.
I would like to see Jack Quaid come on, because those two as a team are amazing.
Yeah, they
and
are.
I think if he's got the right, I mean, Jack Quaid's an excellent actor. I think if he's given the right role, him and Tawny could really, bring something to Academy, maybe a little more of the adult gravitas that we need.
Yeah, I've seen 2 seasons of Lower Decks. I actually saw them in the crossover episode with Strange New Worlds, and I thought it was great.
Bring back
that crossover episode was fantastic.
It it's funny because when I first saw Lower Decks, I'd been watching The Boys, so that was where I first saw Jack Quaid. So
Right.
to see him doing two completely different characters,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I remember seeing a Lower Decks interview where they were talking to the actors, and I remember them saying, you know, one of the hardest things about voice acting is you don't always see what your character is doing. And then when they did the crossover episode, he said that they actually sat there, the two of them, and they studied their characters in the show so they'd be able to do that in live action, which is why they were able to carry their characters over so well into live action.
Oh, that's
But-
great.
Like they actually said, because they wanted to be true to their characters, but when you can't always see what your character's doing on screen and you're just working with a script, that can be challenging. But I mean, we've had great Star Trek from that before. Wrath of Khan, Montalban and Shatner were never on set together. There's a lot of animosity, and you can't tell that they weren't on set together, but they were never actually on set together due to filming conflicts. I don't know if anybody else here knew that except Dallas, because he knew about that when I was on that particular podcast. But I know Dan
I did not
would
know that.
Yeah, I was on a different podcast, not Dan's, and we got to interview Nicholas Meyer, and he said that. He's like, they were never on set together
Oh, interesting.
because they couldn't be. It was just there was too many conflicts. So, sometimes we get the best Star Trek when they have to work under weird circumstances. But
Like the Orions, because William Shatner was too lazy to get away from his horse ranch.
okay, that's a little harsh, but I'm going to throw this one out there just because this one's bothering me. And Dallas knows this because we rewatched it this morning, and this is bothering me. That cadet Kyle, or whatever his name was, that's all flirty with Jaden.
Oh, yeah,
There's something
Oh,
off
yeah.
about that guy. Is it just me, or is there something off about that guy?
He was the same guy who looked at that whole plant prank incident and laughed. So, yeah, totally off. Not sure what, but he seems to really roll with the punches. I mean, even more than a regular human would. It's amazing.
Well, I guess we're also getting a sense that there is something going. It may be that they're all sexually fluid and buy everything, but definitely Raimi was jealous. I saw it.
I don't see Raimi as jealous. I see Raimi as protective, because Raimi's behavior till now has been very protective of Jaden.
Right, but I saw, at least I saw between last week and this week, it seemed like there was something more between them, and definitely this guy was flirting with Jaden, and Jaden wasn't having
Picking
a
up on
problem
it.
with it.
But he wasn't picking up on it either.
or he wasn't having a problem with it. I guess
If he was, he was super awkward about it.
yeah. I don't know. It just seems like there's sort of a 2 in a row thing here, and I don't know where they're going with it.
I
I'm
think
kind
they're
of wondering.
hinting towards something, because they're trying, I think by showing Jaden wearing the skant or skirt, that they're trying to show a little bit of fluidity in his sexuality as well.
Yes, that seems likely.
I just don't get
Me.
any. I just don't get any romantic attraction in Raimi's interactions with Jaden. I don't see a romantic connection. I see it as more like he's protective, like almost like a big brother. Like he's seeing something and he's being protective of Jaden, because Jaden is a little naive. He is a little un-Klingon, I guess. I mean, he's not there, guzzling blood wine, belching, and bar fighting. But
Right.
And I get the sense that he's concerned, because we don't know much about Kionians, but we do know they have a couple weird traits so far.
Such as puking glitter.
Yeah.
God, that was stupid. I'm sorry, that was
Yeah.
stupid.
It definitely
was
sounded like something that comes out of a YA novel.
It sounded like it was like bad fanfic at that point. But
Yeah.
I get the sense that he's suspicious, but not because of romantic jealousy, but suspicious in a way that something's off, because he's always been very protective. Like even him trying to teach Jaden how to breathe and trying to, you know, help Jaden through his anxieties and everything. Because on the surface, he seems like a selfish prick. But
I completely agree that he's protective. I'm just questioning, and I don't know this yet, but I'm just questioning the motivation under it.
I think I go back to last week when I was talking about his sense of noble obligation, noblesse oblige. Do a pause and screen cap of the Kionian's biography at
it
some
says he's
point.
royal
Read
family. It says he's royal family. Yep.
Oh,
Not only
cool.
that, talks about lots of volunteerism on his end.
Yeah, his little stats
Okay.
thing that came up was interesting.
I wonder if the volunteerism is part of the Kionian culture, or whether it was a way of getting into Starfleet Academy, like today's students.
Could be.
Yeah, you got to be extraordinary to get into the academy. A galaxy
Although-
of trillions of people, you got to stand out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Although we've also seen like this Starfleet Academy is not the Starfleet Academy of old, because we saw Wesley Crusher go through the Academy trials and what those Academy trials entailed. But these kids haven't seemed to have had to go through any Academy trials. Same with the War College.
Right.
Like-
Yeah.
Even in DS9, Nog had to go through something just to get
Nog
the
needed
marks.
a sponsor.
He needed a letter from a high-ranking officer. Plus, he actually ended up going through had to go through simulations just to get into the summer school or something.
Yeah, you had to go through some tutoring.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, the Starfleet Academy of old had specific guidelines and standards that were quite high, but we haven't actually seen any real standard to admission. I mean, we've got a photonic who was just admitted because she was sent there. We've got Caleb, who up till now has been kind of a street kid. He's almost like the Aladdin of the show, you know.
Right.
And he got in, and then you've got, you know, we've got Tarima, who got into the War College just by saying, yeah, I'm going to go to the War College.
Mhm.
Like there's been no vetting process really.
I think that's so much hitting on the head, the fact that this is a generation that has been poorly served by, you know, everything that happened after the burn, which is like everything that's happening now for Gen Z and Gen Alpha. And it is sort of a rebuilding. So it's almost as though they opened it up and then they're like, uh-oh, we need cadets.
I
Could it
agree.
be
They're
like how
rebuilding
Seven-
institutes.
Could it be like how Seven got fast tracked to be a captain, where they needed Starfleet captains? So even, you know, even our favorite Captain Shaw, never planned on being a captain. He was perfectly happy tinkering with his warp engines, but he was pressed into being a captain out of pure necessity because of the decimation of the fleet in Wolf 359. Could it be the same thing? Like they're saying, okay, we're desperate. We just need to do this.
Not to mention the Dominion War. I mean, that was even more devastating.
Mhm. Yeah, that would have been an absolute decimation of Starfleet officers there.
Because there are schools even now, like where you get certain schools like charter schools and stuff, where if their population gets too low, all of a sudden a lot of the vetting, they get a lot more relaxed about who's admitted to keep the school going. So I was thinking maybe it's like that. It's a necessity, not because they want to.
Yeah, that's kind of, and also when you resurrect something 120 years later, you don't necessarily, with a different group, with a different society, you don't necessarily go back to your old standards or your old processes.
Mhm.
So I definitely see this as, and you don't necessarily go with Nala.
Mhm.
So I see this as the new experiment to kind of infuse Starfleet into this generation in a good way, just like they're trying to infuse Starfleet membership in, or the Federation membership into lots of species that might have been once but have fallen out or never were in the Federation.
I think they picked Nala too because of her long lifespan, because she would have the knowledge and experience from before
Yes.
to carry into what is the now.
Hmm.
Because there's not many
Yes.
species that would have that unique ability. Like our Dax would, but we don't have that many species that have that ability. Even
Yep.
Vulcans don't live that long.
I was
I'm gonna
just
throw one.
thinking here.
Yeah,
You remember the Pakmara from Babylon 5?
yeah.
When the Rangers were doing their training, they didn't know what to do with the Pakmara because, well, they couldn't make the physical requirements. They seemed to be a bit slower than the other students. But then they found a niche for the Pakmara as spies because, you know, people just kind of ignored them as they were shuffled off into the corner or what have you. I'm also thinking that Starfleet, with the multitude of alien species that are presented to them, and all with their different strengths and weaknesses, they may have to broaden the, approval process and, you know, find the niche for the various students elsewhere. I mean, Binars, for example, they're not a very imposing species, and physically, they would probably struggle to do a standard obstacle course from Army qualifications. But you also know that they're absolutely brilliant and incredible programmers. Like, just because they can't carry a rucksack and climb a rope as well as, say, a Klingon, that they should be excluded? No, there's a place for them. And I think that also applies.
Well, that may be another justification for a war college where you do have, you probably do have the military standards, and maybe they, other than Tremia,
Trema.
Trema.
Trema,
Or Trema.
other than Trema, I think most of them went through some serious training, either before and after they joined the war college.
It's interesting about the war college because there's a lot of complaints about that online, and people are saying, oh, that's not Starfleet and everything. I'm like, yeah, Section 31 isn't either, but not everyone's going to play nice in the sandbox. And I keep going back to that argument. Like, I swear I'm the one, I go online and I'm one of the few people online defending the concept of a war college.
Yeah.
But it's like, there's always got to be somebody to protect you from the bullies.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I'm sure post-burn, plenty of
Post-burn, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, well, like one comment I saw online summed it up perfectly. Just because you give one Orion leader an apple made of human turd doesn't mean they go away. You know, they're not going to go away. They're going to do what they do. I'm going to throw one more question out there before we go, just for fun. You can pick fun, serious. What was your favorite moment in the episode? Go Dallas.
Boy, that's a tough one.
You live with me.
Honestly, watching her punch out that Nivar Romulan when she got drunk at the club, that I just found absolutely hilarious. And you know what? That particular cadet, she's a snot. It was very satisfying.
What about you, Michelle?
I think the moment that Caleb actually reprogrammed her algorithm so that she could experience drunkenness was funny. Even though what she wanted to experience was a taste of gumbo.
How about you, Phyllis?
Well, we're talking favorite as opposed to favorite funny.
Just favorite in general. Like, what's the
favorite
moment
in general? I just loved the Jake portions, especially when she was reading the book and they were talking. It wasn't just the lecture he had given that she saw in the holographic museum, but his really talking with her through her own mind, but and through the book. But it was so poignant and moving for me, and it saved the episode. Not saved the episode. It deepened the episode for me at that point, as opposed to earlier.
I gotta go with the whole bar fight thing because I mean, in one of the first episodes when they did that war simulation, and Sam realized, hey, wait, I can turn myself, so things can go right through me.
Right.
I like the way she just burst out, bar fight, and then she just pounds that girl. I'm like, yes. Like, I mean, but I love the whole scene of her drunk anyway. She went through all the phases of being drunk, like being silly. What's happening to me? I love you all. I'm crying. Now I'm a philosopher, and then bar fight. Like, I love that scene. That scene to me was absolutely the best. And that Navarre, Romulan, whatever, she deserved to get hit.
And isn't that like a realistic depiction of like what young people get up to sometimes on a night out? I remember going to bars and that and getting
absolutely
plastered.
Yep. Or like Picard having to have his mechanical heart because he started a bar fight.
And also isn't there any reference in DS9 to Cisco having a bar fight with somebody or something?
I think
Take
Dax
me out to the hall,
Not
please.
a bar fight, then at least a rivalry.
Yeah, I think Dax mentioned it as a Curzon memory of a young Cisco that was a hothead. But and I mean, to me, the second most satisfying punch in all of Star Trek was Sam. The most satisfying was Cisco pounding Q in the face.
Q never came back.
Yeah, it's I love that. I mean, the bar thing. I know only the bar scene as an adult. I never knew it as a university student because I was 14, 15 when I started university. So I was a little too young, but I think we've all been to a bar where there's been like bar fight. So that said, thank you everybody for coming out today. Thank you everybody for sharing your thoughts. And for those of you out there watching, we're here every Saturday. I'm going with 8 a.m. Mountain Time because that's where I am at the moment. So you have to calculate that into your own time zone. And so I'd like to thank anybody who's out there watching. If you are watching, like, subscribe. It lets us know that you want us to keep coming on here and talking about this stuff so you don't have to. I'd like to thank everybody who was here today and Dan, who isn't here but started this whole podcast. And live long and prosper, everyone.
Live long and prosper.